Right on. Yeah, we're here.
Aloha, everyone.
Saving data on our mobile hotspot here, so we had video turned off. But yeah, thanks for having us on. We're super excited to introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about what we do. We are currently on our family's cruising vessel in Kauai. It's a 1992 Lagoon TPI, 42-foot boat, and there's 6 of us on board. We picked the boat up last spring in La Paz, so we spent some time in the Sea of Cortez and left in April. With all the doors closing in front of us, we headed to Hawaii instead of French Polynesia. So after a couple, mainsails ripping in half and things like that, we turned around and hung out on the Big Island for a while. And here we are on Kauai, hopefully getting ready to
take off here again soon.
Cruise this season again. But we've been busy, so we'll talk a little bit about solar here in a minute. But Savana is going to talk a little bit about her childhood. Are we able to share our screen?
Yes, you can do that anytime you want to.
Okay, let's see if we can.
Okay.
So there was a TPI 42 in the Pacific Northwest about 15 years ago. Is that the same boat?
It might be,
yeah.
Sailing vessel Swell.
Yeah, sailing vessel Swell.
I don't recognize that name. I chartered it back then, so.
Okay. It might have had a different name.
What's that?
It might have had a different name.
Yeah.
Was it Asia or something? It was
I don't
remember the name of the boat you chartered?
I don't recall.
Okay. It's a great boat. I mean, we're all super happy on it, and we'll talk about our electrical overhaul we did to make it super state of the art. So I'm going to share our screen.
Desktop one. Yeah, I think that's
Here we go. Sorry. Bear with us. We need to give it access real quick.
It's a long ways over there.
It is. It took us 18 days to cross from La Paz to Kauai.
So you said you're going to cruise. Where are you going to go when you set off?
Kind of still waiting for French Polynesia to open up, but Fiji's encouraging a lot of cruising, so we might just go straight to Fiji and not deal with heading east, which would be nice. So, okay, here we go. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yes.
I want to move that out of the way.
Okay.
Anyways.
So yeah, this is our Instagram page at Sailing Swell. My family started off in Shoshol on their sailboat monohull reefer in 1990. And they ended up sailing around the world for 13 years, having myself and my younger sister along the way. So I spent the first 7 years of my life on the water. But this is just some of our photos here. Like this is the family here in Alaska when we returned from the 13-year navigation. So yeah, there's a lot of fun photos here of kind of our adventure, and then also our trip from, La Paz all the way over here to Kauai. So you guys are welcome to follow us and check that out. We're always posting. And once we leave again, we're gonna also, try and keep up with sharing our story along the way.
But yeah, there's some pictures of Swell on here, which is the catamaran. A lot of these are from back in the day, but kind of a fun story to spend the first 7 years of your life on a boat. And I grew up in Santa Cruz, California, of course, sailing. My dad worked at more sailboats back in the day, and has been very involved in the Merlin racing program, if anyone's familiar with that. My dad and my brother are definitely very good sailors. They won the Transpac a few years ago, and I got preoccupied kite surfing and doing other things, but now I'm here cruising. So so let's talk about Tiny Watt Solar. I wanted to kind of intro the boat there and talk about what Swell is, but we picked her up in La Paz, and we'll kind of jump over. Oh yeah, we just started a Sailing Swell
YouTube channel as well.
This is basically a montage of their around the world trip back in the 90s, which is pretty amazing and just fun ride to jump along with 2 cute little blonde baby girls.
Yeah.
but we'll talk about Tiny Watt Solar now. So as you saw on our Zoom screen there, our last name is Watts. We are Mr. and Mrs. Watts from Tiny Watts Solar. My college degree is in renewable energy engineering. And so that's my background. We had corporate jobs for a little while, and we decided our free and flexible lifestyle wasn't mending too well with the 19th floor skyscraper I used to work on in Portland, Oregon. So anyways, we are based out of Portland, Oregon, our company, Tiny Watts. And as you see here in some of these photos, we specialize in power systems for the mobile industry, which is for the most part van conversions, is our, bread and butter. But it's all the same systems, right? These are 12 volt, 24 volt based lithium battery systems, and people are converting out their 4-wheel drive adventure rigs with all electric appliances and cool stuff like that. So that was just kind of an example of a project there. You guys can jump on our Instagram. Our website's currently under construction, but we'll jump over to that here in a second. This kind of gives you an idea. It's a drop-in, plug-and-play solution. So we've done all the pre-wiring for you in terms of, charge controllers, inverters, all the complex stuff. These are circuit breakers here on the front panel with your, DC fuse panel up top. Point being, we're really just trying to make solar simpler for people. It's overwhelming, it's confusing. There's way too many forums online talking about this stuff. Here's another enclosure.
So are the batteries in there as well?
Typically, yes. So we ship the batteries separate for, our day-in projects. But yeah, the batteries would live right here across the top in this particular example.
So that's a pre-wired kit for a sprinter van. So basically it goes over the wheel well to put all the weight on the axle.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Or most of these are for van applications.
Here's a fun one. This is we call it our disco kit.
Yeah, this is one of our...
Got the clear front there for protection. But what I want to show this for is essentially the same model applies to the marine industry in the sense of we can build a custom kit. So if it's going in your, lagoon bench, we can work on dimensions and design a custom kit for your application essentially. And on Swell, without getting, too lost in the weeds of geeking out about things, we have a couple photos of our project. But if you go to our YouTube page here,
our Tiny Watt Solar YouTube.
But over here on the, oops, don't do that. We have a full-on video documenting the entire electrical overhaul. That's here, catamaran solar system upgrade. So for any of you that are interested in, what the nuts and bolts looked like of us crawling around in the, ugly parts of a catamaran to do a lithium upgrade, check out that video and you'll get all of that information. I can pull a couple photos here real quick to just kind of show you guys some before and after. But the boat basically came with a decrepit power system, right? It was a leaky, flooded lead acid battery bank that had been, not properly managed. So the batteries were damaged beyond return, and the solar was all hodgepodge, miscellaneous different voltages, and it wasn't working out with a single charge controller. And so we basically came in to earn our keep on board. Other than help hoist the sails, we did a complete electrical overhaul. So here's kind of the electric panel before the project started, just, pretty dated power panel there, functional, but there was a lot of circuits that were question marks. And then we came in and replaced that here with a custom Blue Sea breaker panel, to clean things up a bit. That was a fun project. You can see Savana and I here doing open heart surgery on that. So
was it wired for 220 volt, or was it European, or was it 110?
Nope, it was 110. So we have an electric water heater. And now we can actually use it because we have lithium batteries. So that's nice when you're not running the motor if you're at anchor for a long time.
Well, how many gallons is it?
Good question. I don't know. It's enough for, I guess we don't all shower at exactly the same time. I think it's about 6.5 gallons.
But your solar runs it, huh?
Yeah. So we have a 3,000 watt inverter, and I can kind of answer questions and stuff if you guys think of things. We have a 3,000 watt inverter. So it's, it's a 1,400 watt electric heating element. And the boat came with an S-bar on board, but that's running off the diesels. But we have the ability to run it off just the electric if we wanted to. So we converted to all electric appliances. This is a picture of the solar here. So we have three 360 watt panels. So we have 1,000 watts, 1080 to be exact. But super high end, these are SunPower premium residential commercial grade panels that just have a lot better performance than most of the small marine RV kind of grade stuff that you'll see.
Yeah, and the hardware is rated for 150 mile per hour winds.
Right.
It's basically hurricane rated, so
Yeah,
really solid setup.
piggybacking on all the technological advancements in the residential solar industry, you bang for your buck for a lot of that. Here's the boat before. This is a really bad photo, but you can kind of see the solar that came with the vessel. Let's see, it's just a beautiful sunset picture here, but I can come back into the Zoom land now.
Okay, okay. Stop share. Okay, there we go.
So anyways, I guess, what we kind of wanted to talk about is what the electrical improvements did for us on board, right? Savannah's parents sailed around the world for 10 years and didn't have refrigeration. So we came in, we did this lithium overhaul. We had to convince them for like a week straight that it was okay to leave the fans on while we were in Mexico and go to dinner.
Everything on, the fans, the lights.
You don't have to turn the fridge off at night. But really, and what people are finding with 4-wheel drive conversions as well, is it just lets you bring all your modern day electric appliances, the comforts of your own home anywhere in the world and be off grid indefinitely. Lithium, other than weight savings and lifespan, its electrical performance is what allows you to run real appliances like a induction cooktop, like a toaster oven or a Vitamix. And, Savannah cooks with the Instapot all the time, making soups and stuff on passage. So what's nice about that is we still have propane. We have a propane oven. We use that occasionally for cooking bread and stuff, but our cooking does not depend on having propane. So if we're in the Tuamotus or, some remote islands and we run out of propane, we can still cook dinner. I don't know about you guys, but we're chasing the sunshine around and we can recharge our batteries every day. We have a 7.6 kilowatt hour battery bank with 1,000 watts of solar. So, 5-6 hour day of sun, Pacific Northwest in the summertime, or, where we've been cruising, Mexico, Hawaii.
All sunny places.
It keeps that battery bank full, and that's renewable. We don't have to go search for propane and deal with that kind of thing. So that's been really exciting. And there's 6 of us sharing the system, and so far so good. It's been totally fine. So yeah, do you guys have any questions? We
I could type in some more.
Can you go back a minute? And I think you said you have 1,000 watts of solar. How many amp hours are in the battery bank?
So it's a 12-volt system, and they are 200 amp hour batteries each. So we have 600 amp hours of total capacity. But the main difference with lithium is that's 100% usable, right? Versus where lead acid is 50% usable. So it's equivalent to a 1,200 amp hour lead acid battery bank, but it's a quarter of the weight and it's 3 batteries instead of 6, right? But in watt hours, that's 7.6 kilowatt hours of energy storage. Essentially, we could run 1,000 watts of an electric appliance for 7 hours, which we never really need to, but that's why we can do the water heater, for example, right? That's a 1400 watt appliance. If it took an hour to heat up 6 gallons of water, that's not our entire battery bank. That's only 1.4 kilowatt hours. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So, and then my second question is, how much of what you do with your clients is just sort of education? Like, you still can't, run a microwave for 45 minutes or a hairdryer, right? So how much
You actually could. Yeah, we could, right? But yeah, it is very much client education. Turn your inverter off at night when you're not using it. Your inverter is on when you're using 110 volt appliances in your kitchen. We have a little palm tree night light, and it's kind of the easy way to remember your inverter's on at night is that light's on.
So that's a 110 volt night light.
Yeah, exactly. But it reminds you to turn it off when you're going to bed.
Yeah.
And so, there's parasitic losses there just from having your inverter sitting on. It's going to use 30 watts, which equates to about half a 100 amp hour battery in a 24-hour period. But we pre-wire our systems so that there's less questions, right? We've done all of the generation and all the programming of all the special lithium settings and all of those things where you have a positive post and we send you a spool of wire with pre-terminated lugs on it. You run that from your alternator positive to your lithium positive, and that's it, right? We've already programmed the regulators for you. We've already programmed the charge controllers for you. So a lot of that takes the questions out of it. But we basically have a onboarding call with all of our clients of just how to be in the off-grid mindset and, monitor your energy usage.
Great.
A couple questions that are coming up on chat, if you don't mind me asking.
I just saw those.
Okay. Oh, you see them too? Excellent.
Yeah, they came up. Do you have highly efficient brand to recommend for people who still want the small panels, like 100 watts?
So here's the weird thing about 100 watt panels. They don't benefit from the same economy of scale as the residential and commercial solar industry has, right? All the money is in residential and commercial solar, where RV, marine panels are not produced to the same scale, and therefore all the technological advancements that have happened, not only in beautiful aesthetics, but cell performance, right? Better shading performance, higher power output in a smaller footprint. We took 4 panels off, replaced them with 3, and you get more bang for your buck. The panels cost less, they last longer, they produce more power per square foot. So I don't really have a recommendation for smaller 100 watt panels. I would definitely say, try and see if you can fit a standard 60 cell or 72 cell solar panel, just because you're going to get more bang for your buck. I mean, even if it's just a single panel, right? We sell a 430 watt panel, right? That's fitting a lot of power into a small footprint there. For residential stuff, if anyone has follow-up questions after this, feel free to go to our website and shoot us an email. But there are some brands, SunPower, Solaria Solar, some really high premium power producing panels.
Yep, and that 400 watt panel, it's 77 long by 44 wide.
So it'll keep the sun off your dinghy.
Yeah, we do offer a smaller panel as well. It's a 370 watt solar panel, and that's 64 wide, or 64 long, sorry, and 44 inches wide. But yeah, we have more information on our website. But we do have a couple more questions over here.
Fire them off?
How much do our plug-and-play systems typically weigh?
Okay, so let's talk about the system on this boat. The batteries are 60 pounds each. So we're looking at, like 180 pounds of batteries. Inverters, probably about 40 pounds. Our pre-wired kits that come in the powder coated enclosure and all of that, all said and done, are, loaded with batteries 250 pounds or less, which sounds like a lot when I say it, but that's a quarter of what it would be if it were lead acid, right? That we're talking about thousands of pounds in lead acid batteries being replaced by lithium. And these are 3,000 to 5,000 cycle batteries, which is, you know, anywhere from 8 to 13 years of performance. So you're getting a lot longer life out of them, in addition to weight savings.
Okay, another question over here. So you consider your bank 100% usable. I've heard that lithium batteries could go as low as 8%.
Yep.
Is that not? Yeah.
It's better. Again, that scale of 3,000 cycles to 5,000 cycles, that has to do on how deeply you're discharging your batteries. If you were to discharge them every day, that's where we get that 8 to 13 year range. So yes, it's better to cycle your lithium batteries to 80% than 100, but it doesn't cause detrimental damage like lead acid, where if you know, for some reason you left your batteries low, now you need new batteries. That doesn't happen with lithium. They have built-in protection to help prevent, you know, non-reversible damage.
And the lithium batteries that we use is Relion. Relion is our #1 lithium battery.
Oh, these are great questions, you guys. I'm so stoked you're asking questions because we didn't have a whole big presentation lined up.
Told you this was going to happen.
Yeah,
this is great. How big are those?
I think the batteries, off the top of my head, since I play in AutoCAD a lot for our system designs, I think these are 20.5 long and 10.5 wide by about 9 inches tall. So they're larger footprint than, you know, your standard battery. The reason we use Relion is there's a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes. So, you know, whether this application makes sense for 24 volts or 12, we kind of can pick and choose based on project, you know, what fits in your bench space kind of thing. So the batteries can go on this side of the city, or, you know, the power system over on this side, and just hook up positive and negative. So.
Okay, question from Todd. Can you share the risk of lithium batteries and how you protect against runaway?
Yes, we use lithium iron phosphate, commonly known as Life PO4. Lithium iron phosphate is the safest lithium chemistry for mobile applications. There's a whole bunch of electrical engineering behind that, but basically there's difference in lithium chemistries. Lithium ion batteries, or, you know, a lot of the stuff you'll find in recycled car you know, EV applications and that kind of thing. We've seen scary pictures of vans burnt to the ground from people putting in recycled EV batteries that are lithium ion. Lithium ion has thermal runaway. Lithium iron phosphate does not have thermal runaway. And each battery is individually protected with its own circuit breaker. So if it ever has overcurrent or any problems like that, we have built-in protection to keep it nice and safe.
Sorry, I'm putting in some web links here for you guys.
Yeah. What is your smallest system? So we kind of have a small, medium, and large right now. Again, you know, marine is a little more custom, so we can always work with you on what your needs are. But we have a small system that's just a 2-battery system, 2,000 watt inverter. It can run any high-powered appliance just one at a time. And as sailors, you guys, give yourself some credit for being a little more resourceful than van people, because they want the whole kitchen sink, where I think people that have done some sailing trips are a little more used to making coffee before breakfast and not needing to do everything at the same time. So yeah, we got some smaller kits.
What does that weigh?
That kit, I mean, each battery is 30 pounds, so 60 pounds in batteries, and then the enclosure itself is probably like 40 pounds all in all. So, you know, roughly 100 pounds, 150 pounds maybe.
Yeah, and our smallest, I don't know if you said this already, but our smallest kit is a 2,000 watt inverter and 200 amp hours lithium, which we can add another battery as well.
The person that asked that question though was saying no need for an inverter. So, you know, take 20 pounds out of that, and definitely, you know, $1,000 in cost. So just a DC based system is very simple and straightforward, and something you can always add an inverter to down the road if you want to. So we got,
how much solar would go with your small system?
We recommend at least 430 watts of solar.
Or
370
yeah,
watts.
300 plus is kind of 300 is our minimum. We're solar people, but if you buy a 350 watt solar panel, you're generating 200 plus, right? If you buy a 200 watt solar panel, you're never getting 200 watts. You're gonna, hopefully be producing above 100. But by oversizing your solar, because solar is the cheapest thing in the system, you might as well get as much wattage as you can in that amount of space and make up for, any losses there. So yeah, we kind of recommend a single commercial residential panel, which is anywhere 300 plus watts.
Thank you.
You want to read that one?
Which one? This one?
5-year-old
I have a
LiPo
5-year-old,
batteries.
yeah. And I regularly cycle them to 100%, and they still each give me 50 amp hours, which is what they
Nice.
start at.
There you go.
Sweet.
There's a
Perfect.
little testimonial for lithium. It's pretty incredible.
I have unwittingly many times run my batteries down till they shut themselves off.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to jump start them, and then they get charged up. And these are old. These are not new. They're lithium iron, but they are old batteries.
Yeah.
And I used to run a Torpedo from them, so they
Nice.
have been hammered, and yet they still kind of come back and charge up. And
Still handle. Yeah.
They're not exactly the same. The worst one will only give me like 51 amp hours. They're both rated for 50, but the better one gives me like 65 amp hours. And
Nice.
it's 5 years old.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. We learned too the hard way with that hard voltage cutoff, because like William's saying, lithium does have a, low voltage disconnect, which depending on manufacturers down around 10.5 or 10 volts, or some are even at 9, which is lower than you want to necessarily go. So what would be good to add to your system, William, is a DC low voltage cutoff, which just it kills all your loads. So you'll still wake up to a blackout of like, oh, whoa, all the lights are off. What happened? Oh, we ran our batteries out over the night. But it cuts them off at a programmable set point. So you can cut off at 11 volts, where now instead of having to do that jump start to wake them back up to re-accept charge from the sun again, there's enough reserve charge in those batteries to make it to the light of day and be there to start, accepting solar charge. Because that's the worst. If your system's beyond dead and you can't even have enough power for your charge controller to be on, and you're sitting there going, man, the sun's out, how do I take advantage of this? So you can hit us up for a DC low voltage disconnect. We'll sort you out.
Yeah, that's probably better than what I was doing, which was just connecting the solar panels directly to the battery to turn it back on for.
Quick little short circuit. Yeah, we know the trick. We learned the hard way from doing the same thing in our own van. So we lived in a van full time for
4 years.
Yeah, so we used to not include low voltage disconnects, and now we know why it's nice to do so.
Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, questions. Do you need a starting battery in addition to the system?
That is a simple sounding question, and the answer is easily yes for now, but it's possible to do the other thing. There's a lot of weird things around alternator charging between a lead acid bank and a lithium bank, but we kept it simple on board Swell. Because echo there. Where did that come from?
I don't know. It's weird.
Anyways, we have dedicated starting batteries for each motor on board, and it just simplifies alternator charging for lack of a longer description of that. But you can get by with a pretty small one because it's only there to start your engines instead of run any power to your house bank. So
from Sean, have you ever integrated a wind generator to your system? Do you have any opinions on wind generators?
We do. They're nice, and they're probably a lot nicer now than they used to have been. Yeah. I know Jim and Shannon weren't interested in a wind generator because they had sailed around and remember hearing how loud a lot of them were next to them at anchor. Beautiful thing about solar is it's quiet, and as we all know, wind power really is just a different form of solar power, right? The sun heats up our planet and it creates wind. So it just goes straight to the source. Solar,
Just
it's
solar.
quiet, 25 years, doesn't make any noise, no moving parts. We have a bias towards solar.
Yep.
So
Let's see.
was the
Go ahead.
start battery, was that lead acid or was that also lithium?
Yes, we have small lead acid batteries for the starter batteries. Mainly, it has to do with the alternators, where lead acid has such high internal resistance that you can have them directly connected to an alternator, and that's what they're used to, and that's fine. You won't have a load dump situation with your alternator, where if it was directly connected to a lithium battery, and again, these batteries have built-in battery management systems. If for some reason that lithium battery said, hey, I'm too full of charge, alternator, stop charging me, and that alternator dumps 180 amps, you melt your alternator. So none of us want to do that in the middle of the ocean, and therefore we have a dedicated alternator charger built into our systems with that small lead acid battery. You don't need 3 starter batteries. You need small single lead acid starter battery that's truly dedicated to starting. And the alternator still feeds the house battery bank, but it's not going to have a load dump situation. So, yeah.
Okay, from Scott, is it true that half of the DC energy is lost in the inverting process?
It's not half anymore. There's some parasitic losses for sure, but no, inverters are, 80, 85, 90% efficient these days. They've gotten a lot better. What's more common with inverters that people don't think about is just the inverter being on uses power. And this happens all the time in vans. I wasn't powering anything. Why is my power out? Well, you left your inverter on for a week and that used up your battery bank. 50 watts times 24 hours starts to add up to real battery capacity. So it's definitely good to turn your inverter off when you're not using it, because 99% of the stuff on board is DC anyways. All your USB chargers, water pumps, electronics, all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One thing I did with my attic 110 volt heater is I wired up a standard bathroom fan timer switch in line with it, so that, I'll put the heater on for an hour, because we don't use the attic, but sometimes I do put up there. So could you put a simple switch like that in line to avoid that problem?
Yes, you probably could. I kind of was joking about the night light, but it works for us. We're pretty plugged into it to know to just turn our inverter off as soon as we're done cooking breakfast and that kind of thing. But yeah, we could probably build in a timer and have it just automatically turn off. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
we should.
That's pretty smart. I like it.
Make it that much more foolproof. So, William asked a good question. Have we ever worked with any boats converted to electric propulsion? We actually thought about doing that on this boat, but we didn't. But we want to do that on our boat, and that's why we were talking about with Scott of, hey, can we get a Seawind with nothing in it, so we can put a 50, 60 kilowatt hour battery bank in there. But we would love to work with electric converter boats.
Yeah.
From everything that I've seen, they don't have enough solar, and we all know electric propulsion is possible, but it's the range that makes it not make sense for people. Yeah, you need $60,000 in batteries just to motor for 3 hours, right? Like, yeah, that's not going to work. But electric propulsion on a sailboat, when I think about it, is just sail everywhere 99.9% of the time. And when you occasionally need to motor, then yeah, you can run your electric motors. But you'd be surprised. Like, we did some calculations on a Seawind 1160, and we were looking at fitting close to 4,000 watts, like 3,600 watts, which on a good 5-6 hour day of sun starts to give you some real range. Being able to put 10-20 kilowatt hours back into a battery bank on a sunny day. Everything that I've seen with electric propulsion, they have 1,100 watts, and they got 10,000 watt motors, and it's just like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. You need more solar to recharge your batteries. But we'd love to do an electric propulsion project, and it might just have to be our own to make it the showpiece first.
Scott, what is your professional opinion when it comes to walkable solar panels? Great question.
It is a good question. They're not all created equal. Flexible panels can definitely just fall apart.
Yeah.
And
There's some bad ones out there.
Yeah. So if you're buying a flexible panel on Amazon for $100, you could probably get a couple months out of it if you're trying to walk on it and whatnot. But there are some higher end stuff available. You know, Solbian with the Super Rugged series, they use the same Merlin solar technology that we use in some of our walkable platforms, because we make a walkable solar roof box and walkable solar roof deck for vans, because you know, people need storage and they don't want to give up their roof access. So yeah, they're not as efficient, but if you get the right solar cells, they still, you know, they've kind of figured it out enough. They perform, but it depends on which manufacturer for sure.
Okay, we got some questions here. From Linda, have a Xantrex 1800 with internal switching. Can I create a standalone independent of short AC circuit inverter circuit?
So I think what you're asking, I don't really know what you're asking actually. I mean, yeah, you can have that inverter dedicated to charging your batteries if it's an inverter charger, and it could be its own isolated shore power charger. But you might want to shoot us an email and we can
answer that question.
Try and answer that more accurately.
William, one of my flexible panels caught on fire. My 6-year-old said, "Dad, come here. The boat's on fire." What?
Wow, that's gnarly.
That is scary.
Do you know?
You got extra ice cream for that save, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Do you know what manufacturer that was?
Yeah.
I think it was a Renogy, but it was this is like 5 or 6 years ago. So I think it was just, they actually recalled the panels eventually and replaced them with non-flexible panels, which have worked great. So
non-fire igniting panels.
Non-igniting panels. They're better.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, solar's always hot if it's in the sun, right? And so if there wasn't overcurrent protection on there, but if it's upstream of the circuit breaker itself, it could still create a fire. So
on mine, there was a very clearly like a short circuit in a single cell, because it was like a
hot spot. Yeah.
Spot that just got super hot and then started burning.
Yeah.
So quick little geek out. Typically you'll see solar cells with 3 bus bars, like 3 very clear metallic strips in each cell. Each of those is a current conducting path, right? So if you take a flexible panel and you start bending it and standing on it, whatever, and breaking those paths, that now creates a broken wire, right? So that cell is going to get super hot because a ton of power is going through it, and that's what creates those hot spots. So the walkable panels that work have a mesh. It's like a chicken wire mesh of basically conducting materials, silver and all sorts of other valuable metals. But what it does is it creates a whole bunch of electrical paths, and it gives that cell more mechanical integrity, that even if there are little cracks and, you know, from bending that a whole bunch, you have, you know, 100 different paths instead of 3. And so you don't have that same kind of thing. But that's a little bit of what's improved in the flexible world. But yeah, we do installations in the Seattle area and kind of always expanding. We're kind of building this network of upfitters around the world, and trying to, but yeah, our kits are DIY. At the end of the day, all of you marine people are kind of more capable than van people, but we create a kit that's easy to install by anyone. So it can be professionally installed, but a lot of the time and energy that we've put into it is to make it easy enough for anyone to install. You're connecting inputs. You're hooking up positive and negative solar. your batteries are shipped separate. You're hooking up positive and negative battery wires. You know, an alternator wire lands on a post. It's very user friendly in that sense, because we're taking all the complexity out of it. But yeah, we can be in touch about installers up in the Seattle area.
Now you're making me worried about my Renogy flexible panel. Should I keep off anything?
That wasn't me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, keep an eye on them. You know, nowadays you can get the little iPhone or Android high, you know, temperature cameras, infrared cameras, and you just go check it out. See if you have any hot spots. You know, just point one of those at your panels, and you'll probably be able to see if any of them are glowing red and none of the other ones are. That'll kind of give you an idea of what's going on.
I'll probably do more analog. I'll just put my hand on it.
Yeah,
There you go.
A good tip is just don't flex them a lot. In other words, they can be bent to a shape, but don't go and whip them back and forth like a saw.
Yeah, exactly.
I treat them carefully.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, we're talking to the Multi-Hole Association here, right? Like most of, I'm sure, us have multi-holes, and the huge advantage is the davits above the dinghies. Even if you need to build something custom, it's just a great spot to fit a ton of solar. We tuck all of our surfboards up underneath the panels and protects the dinghy from the sun, and it gets us 1,000 watts in a nice rigid location where, you know, we didn't have to sew in panels to the bimini because we had the dinghy davits in the back there, so, or the cabin top. But I think I don't know if we're spilling over, Scott, but yeah, this has been fun.
Well,
Rapid
you
fun.
This has been tremendously informative. Just a download of information. Wow.
So you guys are on the TPI. Is that your boat, or are you getting another boat, or is that your parents' boat? Or
It's more my parents' boat, but yeah, my dad wanted to go exactly 20 years later from when we got off the boat. So we're doing the whole family trip over again. But Wes and I are like, okay,
we're hooked. Yeah,
we're ready, but we also want to have our own little space too one day. So we're in the market. We're looking now. So
we need to sell some more solar kits.
Yeah.
You're 6 on board. So is that your parents and you have kids, or what?
No, that's my parents, and then my younger sister and her boyfriend. So
oh my.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It's a full house.
Yep.
It's nonstop eating.
We get along. It's
fun.
A lot of people get pretty wide-eyed when they're like, "You're sailing with your in-laws?" I tell them, "Yeah, my in-laws are pretty cool." So, Jim's like turning 67, I think, and we're teaching him how to kite surf and foil surf, and so he's pretty big inspiration. You know, something to do with sailing, keeps you in good shape.
Yeah, being on the water.
But yeah, we're getting ready to hopefully go out again, and we really want to kind of segue. You know, we lived in a van for 4 years and developed electrical kits for vans. It gave us a really good idea of what vans need, what's extreme, what's minimalist, what's the nice in between, and we're kind of doing the same thing on the boat. We have a test system essentially on this, and you know, we're trusting it with our lives, right? We need these navigational equipment to work, and if we can now develop pre-wired power centers for multi-hole retrofits, you know, we're trying to walk the walk and test the same system that we sell to people, so we know exactly the things that can go wrong and how to answer those questions when those things happen. Usually it's just you forgot to turn your inverter off at night, but
yeah, that's the most common
I've heard that before.
But thanks.
So when do you two believe you'll be back at the mainland?
So we were just there for 6 months.
Working
but
nonstop.
I think we'll be there middle of summer, like July, August timeframe. So we'll be back up in Portland, and we'll probably make a day trip up to Seattle, check you guys out, Scott. We want to.
Please do. We're going to have a lot of fun this summer, a lot of things going on. It would be great to meet you in person.
Great.
Yeah, we're excited for that. So we'll come back from Fiji. I'll be sunburnt. Savannah will be tan, and yeah.
All right. Well, I can't thank you enough for making the time. I understand it was your dad's birthday yesterday. Is that correct?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow's good.
Tomorrow's the birthday. Oh, that's right. That's why we did it for Monday.
It's gonna be Tuesday, but thanks for helping us out on the schedule.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys don't want to do a call on birthday night.
But no, it worked out great, the timing and everything. So we're super stoked that we got to meet all of you and answer some questions.
Yeah, I'll say just plug into Instagram if you're on there. Tiny Watt Solar. We often do some lives. Same thing on YouTube on our Tiny Watt Solar YouTube page. We're trying to do more of these live events and answer questions and just be a resource because there's so much misinformation out there. We want to be here to help. So our new website's launching April 1st. So, know that what's there right now, tinywattsolar.com, is
being updated.
Temporary. We have a whole bank of installation videos and all sorts of exciting stuff coming in April. So stay tuned.
A lot of exciting things. So.
Well, I sure appreciate you guys taking the time to have this presentation with us. Ever since we started our discussion last year, I was tickled to death because we, a lot of folks, they just don't hear what the now is. It's always, at least for us, it's a lot more of, oh, this is the product that's available, and you're hitting the forums, you're hitting the blogs, you ask 10 questions, you'll get 20 opinions. So this is very informative, and I hope that everyone does take the opportunity to connect with you in the future when they're looking for their solar needs. And tell the skipper happy birthday from us.
We will.
We will pass it on.
Here, I'll give you guys a quick little preview of where we're at. Hawaii's not always beautiful and sunny, right? So, but I will say we have 100% batteries, and it's this cloudy and gray. There's our solar.
All right.
So, not a very sunny day. We're sitting here at 100%. So, go solar, I guess.
Yeah, right on. Well, fair winds, guys, and thank you again.
Yeah, take
Thanks,
care,
you
everyone.
guys. Yeah.
Happy to be here.